Joining us now, Democratic Governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo. Governor, thank you for joining us. First, New York has passed multiple gun laws this year alone, including the red flag law. We heard the president call for it today on a federal level. That law would have been very helpful in Dayton, Ohio, where many knew the shooter had issues. There were red flags in advance. What can the president and Congress learn from you about getting those passed on a federal level?
Yeah, Stephanie, Ali, thank you for having me. Look, we went through this in the state of New York. We had the Sandy Hook massacre, which was in Connecticut. The public said, much as they're saying today, this is outrageous. Something has to be done. Sandy Hook, we had school children massacred. And we passed the best gun control laws in the United States of America. And we stood up and we did it. And it's politically difficult. Don't discount the power of the gun lobby and the gun owners in this debate. But we passed it. Assault weapon ban, no large capacity magazines, background check for everyone, plus red flag laws, etc. That was 6 years ago. We don't have to guess. We passed it 6 years ago. New York is a complicated state. We did all those things, and legal owners still have access to guns, et cetera. So all of these arguments about slippery slope and the government's going to take your guns, we've disproven all of them. What's happening here is the president and the Republicans don't want to pass laws that affect guns, period. The president said, even today, mental illness and hatred pulled the trigger, not the gun. How absurd is that? The trigger is on the gun. Yes, hatred is a problem, and frankly, the height of hypocrisy for the president to blame hatred when the president has fomented hatred. He calls the president of Mexico and offers condolences. He's the one who said that Mexicans are rapists and bringing drugs, and then we're surprised at the El Paso madman. But it's not hatred or mental health alone. The second element is the gun. Hatred is the virus. The hypodermic needle that injects it into the body politic is the gun. And they don't want to pass gun laws, period.
So
what we have to do if we're... Go ahead, Al.
Sorry, Governor, I didn't mean to interrupt you. One of the things, as of last week, New York's going to require a 30-day waiting period for people who want to buy a gun and aren't immediately approved through the federal background check system. The way, it works in a lot of the countries, if you don't get immediately approved, within 3 days, you get that gun anyway. Tell me the effect of this. Is that 30 days going to be used to gather the proper information to determine whether somebody can safely possess a gun?
Yeah, all it does is it flips the premise. The premise is you can buy a gun unless the background check says you can't. This says you can't buy a gun until the background check approves you up to 30 days. But these laws are new laws, Ali, that we just passed. The threshold law was 6 years ago called the SAFE Act, which said no assault weapons, no magazines, over 10 bullets, universal background check. That's what really would make the difference. The weapons that were used here have no business being sold in those states. Nobody goes hunting with an assault weapon. What we need to do is stop this political game where one is pointing to the other and frame the issue for the people in this country. I say to the Democrats, this is what you do. Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, come up with one bill, go to the Democratic presidential candidates and say, I want you all to sign on. This is the Democratic gun control law. And if we win or if we're in power, this will be the law. And then the American people can see the options. I believe this issue of guns can change the elections. And by the way, elections are about choices. And the Democrats should leave the people with one clear choice. And I say to the president this, if you are sincere about what you're saying, do an executive order. Lay out what your gun policy would be. The president's very good doing executive orders where there's no authority. Declare an emergency. Say, here's my executive order. Here's my universal background checks. Here's my assault weapon ban. Here's my ban on large capacity magazines. Here's my mental health clearance process. It's an executive order. I signed it. I'm going forward. Let the Congress say you exceeded your legal authority and let them challenge him. I dare them. But what we have to do is get from this point where everybody's finger pointing. The Democrats say it's the Republicans, the House says it's the Senate, the president says they should do it. They who? Let the president do an executive order. Let the Democrats frame the issue with one bill. The presidential Democratic candidates say, we will sign this bill. Now the American people have a choice. But what this comes down to is not just the NRA, and you're right. The NRA represents gun manufacturers, not gun owners. And the NRA wants to sell more guns. Gun owners understand it. We passed the same measures 6 years ago. Yes, it creates political tumult because people are afraid of government, and there's a feeling that the Second Amendment says you shouldn't go near any regulation of guns. But we passed it 6 years ago. Some people are still not happy about it, but no one can say, Ali, I'm a legal gun owner and I was deprived of my rights. And we have a record that shows gun deaths are actually down in this state. So we were the laboratory. We did the experiment. We know what to do. The question is framing the issue to get it done.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.